Hello, and welcome. I'm Jon Binnie, and I got dressed up especially today in my bow tie and my kilt, and I wanted to share with you my first 12 months, so my first year of my new business called Heart Centered Wellness Limited. Woo! We did it. We did our first year. Well, technically, the anniversary is on the 31st of May. But as I've learned in my business, that my work life balance is much more important than just doing things on specific dates. So let's pretend for a moment that it's in just a few days' time and that we've achieved the full 1 year, which was May 31st, 2024. Okay, so let me just recap. So I was in the software engineering and artificial intelligence industry for 26 years. And the last 8 years of that was at Amazon. So I worked at Amazon Corporate in Edinburgh, in Scotland. And there I was a senior software manager developing software and artificial intelligence for recruitment systems. And that was a lot of fun. I built some teams, some amazing products, and the people were fantastic to work with. Yet there was something yearning within my soul, looking for more to life. And it was great fun building a lot of really intelligent, fair, and inclusive software. And I did want more in my life. There was something my heart was yearning for, and my soul was calling me to. And so in 2017, I went through an awakening, which was at my first meditation class I'd ever been to. And since that day in November 2017, I kept meditating every day. I then went on and started asking to talk to my spirit guides and get messages from them, using those messages to create songs each day. And after 900 days of doing that, I realized I could talk to spirit guides, that perhaps I had activated or reactivated my psychic abilities. And from there, it was a journey of exploring a whole range of different things. I started doing client sessions a couple of times a week, doing what I was calling darkness clearing initially, and now call it quantum psychic energy healing. And really, that's expanded out to a whole range of different services. So as of today, I offer quantum psychic energy healing. Most of that's online. Most of my business is in the US and Canada, but around the world as well. So I have clients in Hawaii, in South Korea, in Australia, South Africa, around Europe. There's many countries that I have clients in now. I also do in-person sessions as I qualified as a meditation teacher, mindfulness meditation teacher. I qualified as a clinical reflexology practitioner, Swedish massage, which I just submitted all my final paperwork and passed the final assessment for. And also I qualified in Indian head massage. So I also blend all these services together with psychic readings and quantum energy healings. Okay, you can learn all about what I do in my website, jonbinnie.com, and you can also explore my YouTube comment I'm most dominant on. First of all, regarding YouTube, before I forget, thank you for 8,000 subscribers. Woohoo! We did it. It fills me with such joy, and I am open. I feel open to continue to receive more subscribers. I feel ready to continue. And it's quite funny because my stomach's saying, "Are you sure, Jon? Are you sure you're ready for more?" It's like, yes, so much of my journey has been about preparing myself to be able to scale more. And not pushing harder. I don't need to push any harder in my life. More to open myself up to receive and to do this scalably. Okay, so let's do a bit of a recap. Now I'm going to see if I can bring up on my computer here a calendar. So if you wonder what I'm doing, why I'm typing, and why I'm looking at my screen, I'm going to try and look back at the last year because I've not really prepared much. I can remember quite a lot of this last year, but I want to just go back and explain a little bit about the months. So I could talk about some of the themes for each of the months. And certainly I'll be relying on my not amazing memory for this, but come on, memory, we can do it. Let's work through this. So during up to May, I'd created a website. I had jonbinnie.com. I had some clients. So at that time, I was maybe getting one or so session a week with clients, which is, it's a good start, right? And we all start somewhere. And oh wow! And I was also back in May, at the end of May, I was completing sessions doing reflexology and then psychic reflexology. I was doing a placement at St. Columba's Hospice. So that was quite incredible too. And it was a lovely transition to have somewhere to go in, had a little badge, and I went in and swiped in the morning and did a job, although it was voluntary. It was wonderful to help people, and it was a lovely segue from my work at Amazon. And I'd actually left the office April 30th, and then May 30th was so I left Amazon April 30th, and then May 30th was my last contracted day because I was working my notice, often called garden leave. And then May 31st, when I registered my new business called Heart Centered Wellness Limited. I also remember in May, I was going through a lot of different things. So we did in our lives, this isn't just about my business, but in our lives, we were selling our property that we owned down in Kelso in the Borders. And we were selling that because it was a business to let out for people to stay in as a holiday house. But we'd really decided that it was just a bit too much work for us to take on. And what with me starting my own business, it made sense for us to sell that and let it go. And part of the catalyst for that was also the amazing woman that we had really managing it and cleaning it was unable to do that work. So we'd taken on a lot of that work ourselves, going down many weekends and doing hours and hours of cleaning, which definitely gave me a huge amount of respect for the work that this involves, looking after your own property. So yeah, we sold that, and that was through into mid-May, end of May from memory. And I also remember signing up with, I had a first accountant to begin with, and later I moved over to another accountant later on. I also had trialed, there's so much, I don't know how we're going to fit this all in 30 minutes, but I have to jump to join a networking call for people in Australia, because I have clients there I want to connect with. So I want to get off this. So come on, John, speed it up. So yeah, I also was doing hands-on sessions, so psychic reflexology in the Life Academy Wellbeing Centre in Edinburgh. So that was a lot of fun. It turned out that was really a bit too far for me, and the place itself, you weren't allowed to do any advertising, so that was difficult. And I'm looking, I can see podcasts with people. I can see myself through May and June sorting out things like it says cleaning my car inside and out, take my camper van to get new fans fitted. And there's a client session. That was an in-person client session. That's lovely. Followed by an online one. And then, that's lovely. I can now see I'm starting through June to get more in-person sessions. And I remember doing some mobile ones as well. I explored doing some mobile sessions in my camper van. So visiting people's homes or meeting up in a park, because it was summertime, right? Even in Scotland, we could do that. Had a beautiful holiday. I remember taking a lot of holidays through June and July. So my calendar is showing lots of holidays. It even says things like cut the front grass. There's a real spread of my work. Like some of my work goes from Sunday all the way through to Saturday. So spread out. I have a Wednesday off in a week. So it's interesting to see those patterns. I'm also developing the higher self intermediate training course through July last year. So that was quite dominant. And my wedding anniversary, fantastic, to July. And then I'm running the intermediate training into August. So I remember that kicking off. That was really fantastic. So the intermediate training was the first time I was teaching people how to be practitioners about the work I do, because the foundational work course is all about you and developing your own like skills and abilities, and then the practitioner is much more about doing sessions and more deeply for clients. So if you want to do what I do for a day job, then the intermediate training course is a great level to get to. So this then, it looks like I'm now getting busier through August. And I remember my father was sadly ill, so I was in and out in hospital. There's a lot of hospital visits. And thank you to everyone who was adjusting their schedules so that I could move sessions around. I was also busy training. So right up until just last weekend, I was still going through my Swedish massage training. And that started at the 1st of September, so into September now. And so I think that's one hands-on session a month, the Zoom calls, and then you have to do 4 case studies of 10 hours each, and then 30 treatments. So I just finished my 30th treatment, hands-on treatment yesterday, which is fantastic. But yeah, they're big investments of time and energy. And I can see my calendar starting to fill up a little bit. I've been doing live streams now for a little while with the amazing Viviani. I'd love to check back to see, I must remember to check back to see when they started. And I'm starting to see a few more client sessions, two or three in a week, which is lovely to see it picking up. Now, I do remember October. October was, it's really fascinating observing this. So my recollection of October last year was that I had a dip. So I haven't really talked about my sales yet, but I do remember June, July, they were doubling on each other. Now, you can take one and double it and it becomes two, right? $1 becomes $2, etc. But and that's funny because in that respect, it's not as interesting the actual numbers, but the shift in them and what they mean to me. But what I did start to feel was that you could lightly make a living out of this work through to October. And I remember in October, things were much quieter. So I ended up in an experience on October. Let me see through the weeks, because what's fascinating is I was filling my calendar with lots of stuff. There are still quite a few gaps for things. I've got an all day off on Friday. That continues. But October, I do remember, and I'm doing some in-person sessions. So by then I'd started regular Tuesdays at Naked Revive in Haddington doing my psychic reflexology, psychic Swedish massage. I can see those appearing through October. But I do remember the income for October being lower than previous months. It's the first time I'd experienced a lower income. And what's important to feel into in that journey is that it's a big emotion, right? I've taken a big leap out of a high-paying, multi-six-figure salary corporate job to then come into this job where I was working for myself. I didn't know how much money I was going to be able to earn doing this, and it kept increasing, and then eventually in October it dipped for the first time, and it's like, oh, and I remember feeling that in my solar plexus. But that was a change for me, because I started to bounce back from these feelings of fear and lack. And this is a subject, it's a challenge that many of us face, right? And what I would say is that for that journey of lack, because this is what we all fear following our dreams, our dream lives will end up being broke. We'll be really poor. We, wouldn't be able to live in a lovely home, and we'd have to lose things that matter. Maybe, never mind your material possessions. What about also the loved ones you have, like my dear dog Patch and my lovely family. So what I did do in October is, I remember, now I've done monthly videos, so you can watch October's or whatever, and you'd see what, in more detail, my monthly reflections. It's not just business, but I am very much celebrating the business anniversary this month. What I would say is that the experience I had was to invest. So when you're feeling fearful, instead of spending less money, spend more. Why? Why do you do that? Because fear was telling me to stop. Fear was telling me to, John, maybe you should give up what you're doing. Maybe you're not going to earn enough money. Maybe your business isn't going to do as well as you hoped. Maybe you won't be able to make a living out of it. So don't spend money. But what I did do is I bought, I think it's actually this one here, a fancy new microphone. And in fact, now I have 3 of these in total. And I wanted to buy one because just going into October and then November last year, we started doing house renovations. And I knew that I was going to have to work for quite some time, at least 2 to 4 weeks from my camper van doing client sessions. And I wanted my clients to have the same experience, the same sound quality that they'd get with me being in my music studio at home. And so I now have this microphone in my office. I have one that I take with me whenever I go in my camper van, and also one in my music studio. They are hundreds of pounds, plus all the other kit. There's a mixing desk here and a whole load of other things. But this is really important to me on my journey to offer the best quality to my customers, to you guys. Everyone's a customer. Also, something big happened in November. So in November, and let me see, it'd be really fascinating to see. So it looks quite quiet. I'm running a training course in the first week. I've got some wild camping. That was a lot of fun. And then I'm doing another week at Naked Revive in Haddington, running training. And then, here we go. So November, I actually do remember this date. How could I forget? So November 13th is when I went on Linda G's show. And for me, that was when everything changed. And I started, so a few things happened. One is, after being on her show, I got booked for several months. And I would need to check through now the booking dates. But as of now, 29th of May, I think I'm still lightly working through bookings from that one podcast. Amazing, right? And I started through the coming days. So I remember I was actually sitting in our living room was temporarily our kitchen also, as our house was going through renovations. And I realized at that point, I sat there with my wife and said, we've got to book all our holidays for the next 14 months. We've got to figure out, when I'm running training courses, when I'm attending training courses, when I'm doing the case studies for them. I've got to plan out the next 12 to 14 months because I'm getting so many bookings and they're filling out across the months ahead. So we need to, plan a good balance. And I must admit, I took on just a bit too much work through January, February, March. So let's talk about that. So I did get some, I started to get bookings. Let's see how these start to look now. Wow. So as I go into November, my calendar's starting to fill up with 1, 2, 3 sessions and a 2-hour live stream. So that's 5 hours of psychic work in a day. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions and a training session in a subsequent day. And it continues. It continues on. And yeah, my dad was ill again, unfortunately. So I was off seeing him in hospital going into December. And then into January this year, it starts with a lovely holiday. And I could still see, I'm sure that January, February, March, things were still intense for me. Let me zoom out because I think the week on week comparison is really interesting. Wow, yeah, January is just like, to me, it's about 7 it's about 7 days of work in 5 days. And I did go and visit end of January, I did go and visit my old colleagues at Amazon. That was amazing. I spent 2 hours with them, which was so cool to check in and see how they're doing, meet the people, the teams, and chat with them. So yeah, January and February continued to be really busy. I was also running the second run of my Higher Self Intermediate training in January. And February, this continues. I must admit, there were so many things in my life at that time through January, February, March. I did have a family holiday, which is good. But the work was so intense, 3 to 4 sessions plus podcasts, plus training, plus live streams, that it was just incredible. And then April, things start to slow down. Now, originally in April, I did plan to have some time off. But since my wife and daughter ended up going to Spain, we decided to, I would just take on a couple of extra sessions. I think I took on 3 or 4 more client sessions. April also busy. And now we're into May. So just touching on May briefly, May's been fantastic. A much better balance. So if I look at this week? This week's actually a busy week. Wow, it's funny because it looks a lot less in May. So I just have, which is great. So I had like a remote recording Monday morning for a client. I had a 2-hour live stream. And then I was running events at Naked Revive in Haddington for 2 hours doing psychic readings with people. So that was like 5 hours of psychic work. And then the next day, I had 1 hour, 2, 3, 4 hours of psychic work. And then the Wednesday, 3 hours. Today, I have 1 hour, 1 client session. And then I'm also running an event in Edinburgh. This is my first event that I've run in Edinburgh. So for psychic work anyway. So this is at the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle Centre in Edinburgh, which is a really prestigious place. So excited for that. So how have things been in my life? Well, you probably picked up that I was definitely working really, really hard. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of things to do: marketing, doing your finances, getting a good accountant. I have an amazing accountant now. Thank you, Joanna. You are amazing. If you're watching this, you made such a big difference to my life and my family's life. I've also totally changed and evolved the way I work. So now I have much more of a balance. In fact, I continue as we go into June and July. I continue to compress the slots that I offer down to 3 days a week, so that I'm doing all the hard work in 3 days, and then the rest of the time, the Mondays and Fridays, I can either have off, or maybe I'd use one of the days to develop a new training course or go on an adventure that I just get to choose, and gives that flexibility rather than just spread it all out across the week. And when you spread all your work out across a week, 5 or 6 days even, it gives you much less flexibility. And I love flexibility. I love doing sessions in my camper van, meeting people, going out and about. I did during this last month get to go down to during April, went down to England. I went all the way down to the very south of England and did a tour, met clients and friends that I hadn't met ever or hadn't met in years. So that was incredible to meet them face to face and connect and support them on their journeys. And they very much support me on mine. And then and it's also just this continued conversation. I'm constantly talking to my wife. I mean, it's a marriage, right? That's what you do. But in our marriage, we talk a lot about the business, and she also became a director of the business, which is fantastic. And that's if I die, it makes things a lot easier because she gets full access and control over everything and any finances. And it also means that we're going to do an end of month finance review with my accountant, Joanna, and means my wife can attend too, which is fantastic. And I'm sure she'll have lots of questions. And also just so grateful for the abundance, so grateful for all of the abundance of love and support you've given me and my family, and my dog Patch down here. You maybe can't see his tail's just here. It's just been incredible. It's been such a wonderful journey to receive your bookings for one-to-one sessions, in-person sessions, training courses. When you come along to the live streams, every comment on a video that you make I love it. I love it all. And if I was to give myself, and I'm going to try to not cry, like I've done in other videos, if I was giving this message to you, and it applies to myself a year ago, just before I started this business, I would say, if you feel in your heart this is something you want to do, do it. Do it with all your love and energy and put your passion into it. You'll be so successful, so much more successful than anything you've ever done in your life, because it's where your heart sits. And all of the abundance that you need to fulfill this and support this will be given to you by the universe. The most unlikely of things will happen. The miracles will happen to make this happen for you. No one has your superpowers. You are completely unique. No one has your gifts and abilities. And no one has all the things that you're about to unlock on your journey. You're going to learn so much. You're going to have some peaks and troughs. You're going to have some hard days. And you're also going to have some days where you realize that you needed to learn from those hard days so that you can create and continue to evolve and continually improve your work, your health, your balance across everything. And a key aspect from a business perspective is, and you're supported by your health, because your health has to come first, is that, oh, and by the way, I feel amazing. I feel really good. I feel well rested. I feel fit and energized. A big thing is that prepare your business for scale. Make your website, if you have one, fast. Make it simple and easy to use, easy to maintain. Automate all the things you can reasonably, where it gives value to your customer to do something quicker without eroding any of that in-person touch. And people connect with you, not the service or the writing that you have. It's you and the energy behind what you create. So keep yourself happy and high vibration. Keep yourself in a beautiful, joyous momentum in your life. And do all those things you've always wanted to do. Go to those places, meet those people, go on those adventures. This fuels your happiness and your joy. And this is bursting. It comes bursting out into your content you create, the services you offer, and the happiness across your life. So if you're thinking about following your dreams, do it. Don't let other people tell you. Like many people told me I was crazy. I am crazy, and I'm absolutely crazily loving this new life. So thank you so much. So grateful from my family and I. Take care, and visit jonbinnie.com and come and visit me on YouTube. Thank you so much. Sending my love.